Hey fellas, Shan here with Seasons Change. Today we're going to do a video on how to get your 3-blade broadheads razor sharp for hunting. I made a video a little while ago about it, but I've got some updates that make this thing even sharper, so stay tuned. I want to throw a quick warning in here. I'm about to show some images of what a good sharp 3-blade broadhead can do. If you don't want to see that, just skip ahead to the rest of the tutorial. Okay, this is just a good example of what a doe shot with a sharp broadhead looks like. Profuse blood trail. This guy was quartering to me, shot through the shoulder blade, still came out and made a great blood trail. Classic heart shot, profuse bleeding with that sharp broadhead. This one's interesting. I shot him through the thickest part of the ribs straight down, and it came out his sternum still stuck in the ground. That's what a sharp broadhead can do for you. This is just a good example of what a good blood trail looks like. You can see the bubbles in it, just profuse bleeding all over the ground. Nice clean cut here from a sharp broadhead. Slice through that hair, you'll usually find hair on the ground, and then maintains its cutting edge as it goes through the top of the heart, bottom of the heart, and then exited and stuck in the ground once again. All right, folks, let's go over the equipment we need here. So obviously, not to insult anyone's intelligence, we're gonna need a 3-blade broadhead to do this. I'm using a VPA, but there's a lot that are very similar out there. Using a Sharpie to mark the edges. This is a 14-inch mill bastard file made by Nicholson. You can get them off Amazon or your local hardware store. They're gonna run you about 30 bones. I screwed this one into some 2x4s, and it makes the job a lot easier. Would recommend. Okay, also you're gonna need something to scrub that file with. It's just a little wire brush. I have an old knife steel that I love to use. And then I have a strop made of cardboard. It's actually a box of Frosted Flakes, or you can use a leather strop just like that. I do have some buffing compound on both of those. So the first thing you're going to do is mark those edges. This is so that you can see where metal's being removed, and if it's uneven at all, you'll be able to adjust the pressure on your hand or the placement of your hand so that the Sharpie is evenly removed. And you'll kind of see that through the process because it happens to me here, and I'll talk about it. Once you're pretty good at it, you'll be able to look at the scratch pattern on the bevel and know whether or not you're hitting all the sides. But if you're a beginner, I would definitely recommend doing this. So a couple tests that you can do to test the sharpness of your broadhead. One of them is to run it along your fingernail and see how it's slipping off the fingernail like that. If it does that, the blade is not sharp. So this side's a little bit sharper. It wants to dig in just a little bit, but it's still kind of just slipping off. And then same thing on this last side. If the broadhead's sharp, it'll dig in, and I'll show that at the end. Another classic test for sharpness is the shaving. So get my arm right here where you can see, and you can tell this broadhead is very dull. I'm pushing very hard, and it's not getting anything up. So this is something we're definitely going to have to sharpen. One more really good test for sharpness is taking a rubber band, letting the weight of the broadhead just kind of rest on it, and then drag it across it with nothing more than the weight and see if that'll cut it. And as you can see, it's making small little cuts there, but it's not actually cutting through it. So this broadhead is what I would call very dull. Okay, so to get into the actual sharpening, what we're doing, all we're really doing is removing the metal from these sides, and these 3-blade broadheads are generally flat. So as you continue to file away, it's making this angle more and more acute. And you can't see it on this camera, but there's little flat spots all along the edge. So I can tell that this thing, just visually, is not sharp. So what we're looking to do is grind away that metal, make those angles nice and acute. So all we're gonna do is start, let's see here. So you always want to push the broadhead into the teeth of the file. So if you imagine the handle on the file you're holding here, you're gonna be working it like that. So you want to draw the broadhead towards the handle because that's where the cutting is going to happen. So for me, I like to face the broadhead, the tip of the broadhead towards the handle, put it on there, and then just drag it to me, just like that. I'm going to start with 10 strokes on each side because this one's pretty damaged. Now I'm going to check to make sure that all my Sharpie is gone, and I can see that yes, all that Sharpie is gone. You can see that shine on there as compared to this side, which still has the Sharpie on it. Okay, so now let's rotate and then do it again, 10 strokes. Make sure you keep track. Oops. Make sure you keep track of which side you have sharpened and which one you have not. So 3, 4. Okay, I just did 10 strokes, but I'm still seeing some Sharpie on this right side. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit that little part again. A couple more strokes, let's go 5 more strokes. All right, almost cleaned off, just a tiny bit more right there. So let's do that, 5 more strokes. Nice, okay, now it's completely clean. And all that's telling me now is that that edge or this side is completely flat, and I can go ahead and move on to the next side. Okay, let's check it out. Nice and clean. Cool. Now all I'm going to do is go down to 8 strokes, 6 strokes, 4 strokes, and then 3, 2, 1 on this file. After that, we'll move on to the knife steel. Okay, moving on to 6 strokes now. And as I go, I get progressively lighter on this file. So I start off with a moderate to heavy amount of pressure, and I'm just kind of working my way, just the weight of my hand and the broadhead. By the time I get down to 3, it'll be just the weight of the broadhead. So this is 6 now. Notice how I'm trying to work the entire file. Just gives you a nice long stroke, and then make sure that you're not abusing just one little part of the file. Okay, there's 6 on all sides, moving to 4. And I don't know if you can hear just by the volume of it, but my pressure has gotten significantly less. Okay, and there's 4 on each side, moving down to 3. Super light pressure at this point. One of the things you'll kind of have to fight is make sure that you're keeping the broadhead down the center of that track. Moving on to 2 here. If you slide it off one side, you'll put some like serrations in it that you'll have to work out. So just make sure you're I use my knuckle of my middle finger right there, and it kind of guides along the side of the file as I'm going, kind of keeps that thing as centered as possible. Of course, I still mess it up sometimes. Okay, so that's 2 on each side. Now let's go down to 1. Just barely any pressure. And I'm going to do 1 3 times. There's 1 once through. Barely any pressure. 1 twice through. The lightest amount of pressure. Okay, and 1 3 times through. And I didn't do a good job doing it right there, but make sure as you're going along, you're cleaning off your file so it doesn't get too bogged down. Not a big deal on one broadhead, but if you're doing multiple broadheads, that thing can get really gummed up. Okay, so next step that I do, and before we move on, just take a look at that profile on there. You can see how nice and flat each side is, and I can tell that this is already going to be way sharper than it was before. If I feel the edge, I can just feel the thinnest little burr sitting on the edge of this thing. But let's go ahead and do the nail test right now. And yeah, oh man, it is grabbing nail super well. That thing is not sliding at all. Let's go ahead and try the hair test right now. I don't know how great it's going to do, but let's see. Okay, so wow. Yeah, even before we've moved on to steps 2 and 3, you can tell that that is just pulling hair off my arm right there. So already, before we've even moved off the file, I'm getting some good amount of hair off the broadhead, or that broadhead shaving a good amount of hair. Okay, but we can do better. So let's continue on here. Okay, so now I got the knife steel, and just like I was mentioning, I could still feel a little bit of a burr. This knife steel helps kind of knock that off before we go to the final stropping process. So all I do is I'm only using this little stick here. It's the end of an arrow that's cut off, and I just use the weight of the broadhead and just push it straight over that knife steel. And I'll go three strokes per side, and then work my way down to 1. So 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm just letting the broadhead sit on it as well as I can because I know that side is flat. So 1, 2, 3. Now let's go 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and now 1 stroke, 1 stroke, 1 stroke. All right, let's feel that blade. Oh yeah, she is wicked sharp. And you could 100% hunt just like this, and you'll get a great edge. But as bow hunters, we always want to be perfect. So I'm going to take it 1 step farther, and that's where this stropping material comes in. This is a cardboard box of frosted flakes. All I did was open it up, and I put some buffing compound on it. Buffing compound's not necessary, but it does help. And if you can see on this buffing compound, it's all green, but you can see the darkness on it, and that's the metal shavings coming off as it peels this off and just continues to polish that edge. Alternatively, if you have it, you can use one of these little strops, leather strop like this. I got a bunch of those laying around, but I do love the cardboard because you can get a nice long stroke on it. So let's go 10 strokes per side and then work our way all the way down to 1, just like we did on the file over there. Okay. Now remember, on the strop, you're always going backwards away from the point. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and just using light pressure, really not using a lot of pressure here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Also bouncing around on the strop as I go so I don't build up too much compound in one area. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then obviously light pressure, but I'm getting lighter as I go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All this is doing is polishing that edge. 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then make sure you are trying to keep as much even pressure on this broadhead as possible so that both sides are getting good contact. Don't favor one side with your thumb or the other side. Make sure you're getting nice and even. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's this easy, folks. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's go down to 3. Almost there. 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. Almost there. And last one. Here we go. Nice and light. Just gliding her across the top. I'm going to go 3 1 strokes per side here, just to really get her in there. 1 more per side. All right, boys and girls, so the last thing that I do, just in case that this strop has picked up an edge again, push that burr to the edge, I'm going to take that knife steel 1 more time and just very delicately push it across 1 more time on each side. All right, so let's run this thing through our test that we started with and see how she's doing compared to when we started. All right, and I'm seeing each of these sides looks nice and even. The grind pattern is beautiful on this thing. Okay, so nail test. Okay, flying colors, boys and girls, flying colors. Okay, let's go back to the shaving. It was already shaving hair before. Let's see if it's just crushing it now. I want to get it nice and close so you can see there. Oh yeah. Oh man, I'm barely even pressing, and it is crushing the hair. I hope you can see that because it is
just shaving sharp. You could definitely shave your face with that baby right there. Beautiful. All right, and then the final test that we talked about, the rubber band, you might even be able to see, let's see, oh, maybe it's on the inside, the lacerations from the last time, where it's just barely making little indents, okay? So let's see, just minimal amount of pressure, not super stretch there, okay? Now, to be fair, let me just take this off so I don't have the weight of the shaft on there. Just got the weight of the broadhead. Let's see how this baby does. So weight of the broadhead, just put, oh, there it goes. Didn't even make it all the way down the edge. Just the weight of the broadhead, folks. And that is just shaving sharp right there. Boom, snapping right through. One more side. And what you want to see is that it's cutting the whole way. And you probably can't see that, but as I'm going through, it should be cutting for the length of the blade, and it is. I mean, this thing is ridiculously sharp. Just beautiful. And if you're like me, you love sharp edges, and I love sharpening my knives on some Japanese water stones, love sharpening my broadheads, and these 3 blades, the beauty of them is that they're just so easy to sharpen. The last step that I would recommend, and I don't know if I have any right here on me right now, is to put some either Vaseline or chapstick on these edges to keep them from rusting, and you're going to have yourself a nice sharp broadhead for hunting season. Last little recommendation is that as you continue to put your broadhead in and out of the quiver, I would just go back to the strop and just get that edge back to a razor, because as you're going in and out of the quiver, it's going to dull those things just a little bit. If you go through an animal, probably need to go back to the file, but as you've seen, no big deal. So good luck out there, fellas. Hope you guys have a great season. I'm sure this tip will help you out, give you nice profuse blood trails and short track jobs on your kills. So kill it.
Hey guys, I forgot to mention, if you liked what you saw here, please like and subscribe. If you have a different way to sharpen 3 blades that might be better, would love to hear about it. Leave a comment below and I'll get back with you. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.